Hi everyone, I'm filming another one of my training sessions with my 9-week-old puppy here, and just before I was going to turn the camera on, I was going to put my shoes on, and because I told you this puppy likes to bite on stuff like my hands and my clothes and stuff like that, and no one believes me because, you know, when I'm training, I'm trying to prevent the biting from happening. So I was going to put my shoes on, and basically if I didn't do anything, the puppy would go and bite my shoes. So I suggest where you keep your shoes, you have some, or your clothes, you have some treats or a chew to give the puppy, and then put the clothes or shoes on when you're busy. And then in training sessions, you can work on teaching the puppy not to bite clothes and hands. Like I have a tutorial on how to do that, and I'll link that in the description below. But just a management technique is standing behind a barrier. I've even, after getting this puppy, I put my shoes on sitting on the bath with my feet in the dry bathtub, just to prevent the puppy seeing me putting my shoes on, because I was in a rush and I didn't want him to look at my shoes. So what you do is you sprinkle a couple of treats, and this is just managing the behavior, so you can put your shoes on without the dog rehearsing going for the laces. So in training sessions, you can reinforce the dog for ignoring and leaving your shoes, but when you're doing something like you have to do something and you don't have time for training, you can use management. But if you only use management, as you can imagine, if there are no treats, the puppy might just think to go back to what he would naturally want to do, which is go for his shoes. Oh, hi! And Splash here, she has bladder cancer, so she gets to do whatever she wants to do in her last days, don't you? So if you want to interrupt my videos, that's perfectly fine. You get reinforced for that. So you can lay there and eat puppy kibble. Why not? Just a couple. There you go. You're doing so good. Okay, so the first exercise that I wanted to work on with this little guy, yesterday we were doing eye contact and I was using some really high value treats. And so today I'm giving him a couple of treats there because it's like the middle of the day. So he had his breakfast and he had a couple treats for some other stuff, but he's kind of hungry. So I'm giving him a couple to make sure he's not too hungry when I do the exercise, because yesterday I had really high value treats and it was super hard for him to do to give me attention away from the treats. So if you'll remember, or I'll link the video below, but I did a training session where I was asking him for eye contact with the distraction of holding the treats like this. Good job. And then when I started to move the treats, he found it super hard to look away from them. So this is just his kibble now. And you can see that it's much easier if you compare the footage from the previous training session. He can look away from the kibble easily. In fact, he looked away from one that was between his paws there. And you can see he's settling, which is lovely. I love that. Yeah, it's awesome, especially because I just put my shoes on. Okay, so here we go again. I'm going to hold the treats out, make the kissy noise. Good job. Mark and reinforce. Good. And add some duration. So before, when I was using the high value treats, that was adding criteria. It was harder because the treats were more interesting to the dog. So now that I'm using the low value treats, I can add duration to the eye contact. Good job. So I can talk to him. Good. Mark and then reinforce him. So there I can get way more duration in the eye contact and work on the duration with the low value and work on just the concept of looking away from novelty food when using the high value treats, and then start to generalize so he can do that with any sort of treats. Good job. So now I'm going to add the movement that he was struggling with yesterday. So I'm going to move my hands like this, and I can either just keep moving them and wait till he forgets them by moving them repetitively, like that, and then click him offering me eye contact, or I can make my kissy noise or other interesting noises to get him to look up at me, like that. Good job. Good boy. And this is going really well. Yay. Awesome. So that was super easy for him. He said, that's easy. So now when I use the high value treats, I can start off by first having them behind my back and then here, and then maybe a little bit of movement, but definitely not lots of duration with the eye contact, just clicking the moment that he looks away from whatever I have in my hands like that. Good boy. So now, because it's been a few days, I'm going to brush him with a brush because we haven't done that in a few days. It's got some of my other dog's hair in it, of course. Your hair. Okay, so I'm just going to feed him as I brush at first. Good job. And then brush him a little bit and then feed. Good. And there he looked at the brush, so I would go back to feeding him or holding the treat out like this. Good, before giving it to him. Good. 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 Good job. This part's all tangled on your legs. Good. I'd like you to stand up and get it. Good job. So I'm going to feed him a treat on these tangly bits because most likely a puppy would turn around if you're pulling on his little knots. He's got some fuzzy butt hair. Good job. Okay, so that was good. And now we're going to refresh the Dremel because I love trimming my dog's nails and making sure they're short. So here's the Dremel, and we worked on it before. So I'm going to throw the treat away so he's far away from me when I make the noise to begin with so it doesn't startle him. Go get it. They're over there. You stay there, boo-boo. Right here. There you go. So after he's done with his treat, the Dremel noise, yay! And you can see he's starting to have a conditioned response to the sound of the Dremel. Now in between the training sessions of the Dremel, when he's sleepy or he's chewing on a toy or a chew stick, I cut some of his nails using a human nail clipper because he's a puppy. Now I'm just going to let the Dremel run over here. He was like, why did you do that? So I'm going to let it run and then I'm going to lift his feet. Good. And feed a treat like that. Good. Awesome. Good. Good. Let's see if I can get a better angle on that. Good. 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 And what I'm doing here is letting him eat food and also trimming his nails. So you saw I got in a nail at that point, and then I could just, that could be good enough for the first session because he's never had his nails dremeled before. So a lot of positive reinforcement literature will say first do the stimulus or whatever you want to condition first and then give the treat. But sometimes if it's something uncomfortable or weird to the dog, if you do it first, they might not like it, and then it's hard to undo that. So by sprinkling a whole bunch of treats and then just habituating the dog to the experience while they're busy with something else, then when the treats are gone, it's going to be less weird because it's already happened to them while they were a little bit distracted. So now I'm going to see if I can do his little nail while he's not distracted, and you can see that, good, his nose is like right in where the Dremel is. So it's, hi, so it's really helpful if you have a helper when you first trim your dog's nails, because as you make a little trim, someone else can feed the dog. Or if you're working alone, you can have the treats on your leg like this, so the dog is waiting, or on the ground, waiting for these treats. Good, and then you can go and get a treat like that. Good job, Boo-Boo. You want me to do your nails. Another thing is if your other dogs are really good with their nails being trimmed, you can get your dog used to the sound of the Dremel by having the other dog have their nails trimmed. Good. What do you think of that? That was weird. That was weird. It smells, huh? Whew, it smells a lot. It smells like nails. Good job. Let's do it again. Are you ready? Here we go. Good. Good job. I did her nails. Gosh, I'm getting the genders all mixed up. He and she. Here we go. Let's do some more nail on Splasher. You ready? Whoop. Sorry, Splash. Usually I have Splash upside down to do her nails. Good job. And this paw over here. Oh, that was too much. He's gone over here to check out my treat bag. But it's not a bad sign. I thought he was a little bit worried at first when I did her one nail and it, you know, the dust from the nail smells weird. Good job. Okay. So we did some of the nail, the conditioning to the Dremel, which I'm very happy about. And what else can we work on? I had planned on just doing these two things, but I'm going to work on paws up, teaching him to put his paws up on that little platform that we worked on when I did that little obstacle course, having the puppy walk over different surfaces. But that was the first time he did paws up. So I want to get him offering paws up when he sees the platform. Okay, so I'm going to refresh by putting this down and then luring him onto the platform. And then, oh, I don't know where I put my clicker. And then marking and reinforcing him for staying on there with his feet still. Good. And now I'm going to say free and release him. I got my clicker. I actually really like to use the clicker for this exercise. So when the dog is offering something specific, I really like to use the clicker. So first I'm going to go back to luring him to put his feet up like that, mark and reinforce, and then I'm going to release him free and give him a treat over there. And then now I'm going to stand between the box and him, and hopefully that will give him the idea to put his feet up. Now if I was over here, he would be less likely to put his feet up. And also if he was over here and the box was behind him, he would be less likely to initiate putting his feet up. There, he walked towards it. So I'm going to reinforce him and then just feed him with his feet up like that. So say, for example, you were free shaping a dog to do something and they walk towards the box. You could mark and then just simply feed him for putting his feet up, and that's going to speed up your training, especially if you have a small dog that can't eat very much food. So you can train more stuff by being efficient by where you deliver the reinforcement. Good job. You're basically giving them little hints and reinforcing that position. Good job. Free. And as I said, I really like to reinforce them for staying and then understanding the concept of a release, because it makes training duration behaviors like stays really easy. Good job. Awesome. I could also ask for some eye contact. Awesome. And now I'm going to release him free and see if he might think to go up on that box, and I can point at it. Good job. Good job. Awesome. So now, free, I kind of bet that he might put his feet up, so I can say, go paws up, which is my cue for my other dogs. Mark and reinforce. Good job. Add a little bit of duration of staying up there so that the picture isn't too similar. Release him free. Awesome. And now I'm going to make it super easy and say, go paws up. Awesome. Good job. And then we'll end that exercise now because that was really good. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support my work, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. You can also become a supporting member of Channel Kiko Pup by clicking the join button. See you later.